Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today I want to talk about the very excellent national government and what it's doing to cut crime in my city of Christchurch. As a Central City MP, I find that it is crime that worries my constituents the most. Before the last election, 400 people came to the Christchurch Town Hall and called for action on crime and a safer city. And that is exactly what this national government is delivering. Christchurch people were concerned about criminal gangs and about the pea trade. We have clamped down on that and have created new powers to confiscate the proceeds of crime. Families were worried about violent youth crime. We are tackling that through our Young Offenders Fresh Start program. People were horrified by the number of violent offences in the city, many being committed by prisoners on bail. So we've strengthened bail laws to make it harder for violent criminals to get bail. At the same time, we have denied parole and increased the sentences of repeat serious violent offenders and those who have committed the worst murders. To help convict more criminals and to solve cold cases, we have enabled the police to take DNA from people arrested for imprisonable offences. We have introduced tasers. We have increased sentences for crimes against children. We have increased drug and alcohol treatment for prisoners and have provided access to prisoners' compensation by victims. And we've done all this and more in the last 18 months. Labor had 9 long years to improve law and order, and they didn't do a thing. In central Christchurch, we have honed into 2 key issues: intercity violent crime and antisocial road user behaviour. Because under Labor, both these issues had been allowed to get out of hand. This government is cleaning up that mess, and we've seen a real step change in behaviour. The police have launched Operation Crusade, which is all about having more police active on the streets and deploying them in crime hotspots around the city. The Christchurch City Council is working hand in hand with the police and complements their work by employing safer city officers. Camera surveillance has been beefed up and changes made to how licensed premises operate. The result is a steady improvement in behaviour in public places and a safer city. It was the new legislation of the Honourable Stephen Joyce and the Honourable Judith Collins that has provided a breakthrough on the boy racer problems in Christchurch. That legislation focuses on the things that matter to dangerous and illegal drivers: their driving licences and their cars, the issuing of demerit points, and the confiscation and, in the last resort, crushing of cars have hammered home the message: Christchurch people won't tolerate dangerous, illegal and antisocial driving behaviour on our streets. And the anti-cruising bylaws being introduced this week will nail it down even further. But there will still always be victims of crime, and this government is determined to provide a more supportive framework for victims who, through no fault of their own, end up in difficult and traumatic and often tragic circumstances. Labor had promised a victim compensation scheme for 14 years. National has done it in less than 14 months. The $50 levy introduced this Thursday is a victim compensation scheme with multiple benefits. It means that victims are firmly at the centre of justice system. It sheets home to offenders the consequences of their behaviour and the responsibility to their victims, and finally provides a fund to support victims and their families. Of course, nothing can alleviate the hurt and pain of victims, but a supportive framework that addresses the financial and emotional costs that fall upon them will make a difference. Christchurch and New Zealand is a better place because of this national government. We are dealing to the criminals and supporting the victims of crime.
Gareth Hughes.
Kia ora, Mr Speaker.